the American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom of Thought podcast. I am your host, Palladino Joey, or Joey Awijan. Freedom of Thought is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. Happy July 4th, 2025, the 249th anniversary. So next year's the 250. I was preparing almost as if this was the 250. Everybody keeps talking about 250, like the Centennial Exposition. That would have been 1876. The Bicentennial would have been, of course, 1976. Then the one that's really kind of funny, the 150, Sesquicentennial Exposition. Sesquicentennial Exposition. Right, 1926. So I might look at those a little bit, again, to kind of like Wikipedia for summaries and such to help kind of reference some things, obviously, because I wasn't alive in 1926. I wasn't even alive in 1976, believe it or not. My wife was a couple months old. She's a little older than me, unfortunately, for her sake, I guess. But 1976, yeah, a lot of people were born that year, like Kevin Garnett, of all people. Some other famous athletes were born around that time, and my wife was born, a few other people, so whatever. That was the the bicentennial. Of course, one of the major things that's been a huge topic is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or whatever, has been moving around. It was introduced, it has passed the House, it has passed the Senate. Now they're resolving the differences. It goes to the president and becomes law. All of that good stuff. So Congress.gov, the sponsor, represent Jody Arrington out of Texas. Congratulations there. No, I'm just kidding. So yes, it's getting closer and closer to becoming law. All kinds of different things to look at. It could go on forever. You notice how when you scroll down, the little, thing on the side, the little bar, moves about as fast as the hair grows somewhere. On a moose's something. Okay, that's really inappropriate, but it's very slow. Yeah, very slow, which again tells you how many different things are in this. That's why it's very big, and I guess it's kind of beautiful. But the good part is, of course, no tax on tips, things like that will be in there. Not everything is perfect, but not everything is going to be perfect in something like this, but some resolutions were made. There was a lot of pork barrel spending early on that was cut out a bit and such, and going across the aisle a little too much, that thankfully some of them realizing that these people aren't going to vote for it anyway. They all hate Trump and da-da-da-da-da. So if it's going to pass without their vote, then what the hell's the problem? So again, part of my French. One thing after another. Of course, you have the commodities and such, base acres, producer election. I could go on all day with some of that. Of course, nutrition, reevaluation of thrifty food plan, modifications to SNAP work requirements for able-bodied adults, availability of standard utility allowances based on receipt of energy assistance, restrictions on internet expenses, interesting, matching fund requirements, administrative cost sharing, national education and obesity prevent grant program. That's really interesting. I could use help there. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, a little bit. I'm just kidding. I'm not that big, but I'm not that small either. I could use some. I could lose a few pounds. Yeah, could be a little honest about that. But of course, again, what's nice is again, some of this is kind of putting our foot down on the conservative side. Like, hey, like there's going to be stricter rules with immigration and such. And obviously, a number of people already have voluntarily deported themselves, which is a good idea. That way they can be able to come back legally. Because it's like, why cheat the system? Just do it right. Stuff like that. So some major things to be happy again here on July 4th. Obviously, first of all, that Donald Trump is the president. Obviously, I'm very happy to have Donald Trump as president versus Joe Biden. A year ago, around this time, things were definitely in disarray. Donald Trump, the debate between Trump and Biden had happened about a week ago. People were like, "Man, this is pretty weird. This is really weird. Like, is Biden just going to step away?" And eventually, he did, right around the same time. And then all of a sudden, Kamala Harris becomes the lead candidate without any type of primary. So 1 year ago, things were pretty odd, to say the least. So here we are today with Donald Trump as president. Of course, you go on like things like TikTok and such, and you have that obnoxious bleep Donald Trump. Yeah, blank bleep Donald Trump. It's like, that's really creative. Yeah, bleep Donald Trump. Yeah, N-word bleep Donald Trump. It's like, and you just keep running into stupid people like playing the same thing, flipping off the their phone camera, whatever, as they're, lip syncing that, and it's like, yeah, that's great. You know what? You could just say it right back. You know what the best thing to say to those kind of people? Right back at you. You know what I mean? So, right back at you. He's still the president, and thank God he is. And hopefully, again, as we go forward into the next election and such, that things are going to stay more in our direction versus going that way, going to the woke side of things, because the woke side of things doesn't work. It's not good, and a lot of people are sick and tired of it. Like, you walked into a Target this past month in June. What happened to all that? What happened to all that rainbow stuff? Oh, it's gone. That's nice. It's much further in the back somewhere, and it's much smaller. Well, adios, bye-bye. We don't have to have that shoved down our throats every 10 seconds. So that's great. Instead, it was a lot of patriotic stuff that said USA, and all of that. It said USA. It was patriotic. You had the flag and all that. So that was a heck of a lot different. And it's not just because Trump is president. It was because, well, the whole point is, a lot of people have said, okay, enough. We're tired of this. Can we just stop? Enough of this nonsense. Enough of this woke crap being shoved down our throats every second. Enough of the identity politics, which I think has absolutely plagued this country for the last 20 plus years at the very least. It's an absolute nightmare. So it's nice to see some of that woke stuff. It's nice to see there's some pushback on it, and that it's not being shoved down our throats nearly as much, at least not right now. We pray to God going forward that things aren't going to go completely the opposite direction again. So we're going to have to wait and see with that. Otherwise, I can dig into some of these and such. The 1876 centennial, and I'll probably look at this some more next year when it is the official 250th anniversary. In Philadelphia. It was the celebration was in Philadelphia in 1876. The Centennial Exposition. Of course, nobody was still alive going back to the Revolution. I could even maybe go to the 50-year one if it's up as well. But maybe we'll look into that next year some more. It was officially the internal exhibition of arts, manufactures, and products of the soul and mind was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania from May 10th to November 10th. Wow, that was a while. So it was quite an event. 1876. It was the first official World's Fair to be held in the United States and coincided with the centennial anniversary of the Declaration of Independence adoption in Philadelphia, the same city, of course, July 4th, 1776. And Philadelphia was the original capital of the United States once upon a time. Then it became Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, Washington, D.C. is about 90% Democrat, which is really annoying. Thankfully, Pennsylvania, obviously, was it 4 years ago? Philadelphia was like the center of the political universe here in the United States when there was some funny business going on during the overnight times of election night, overnight into the next day, where a lot of fake ballots were buzzed in. So that was pretty messed up, or were trucked in and such. Pretty scary, pretty messed up. This exhibition, the 100th anniversary, whatever, centennial, it was held in Fairmount Park along the Schuylkill River, I apologize, on fairgrounds designated by Herman J. Schwartzman. Nearly 10 million visitors attended the exposition. That's a lot. In 1876, that's a lot of people. 10 million visitors attended the exposition, and 37 countries participated in it. Well, how dare you? Well, I guess we were already a melting pot at that point, huh? That's interesting. The Great Central Fair on Logan Square, hey, it rhymed, in Philadelphia, 1864. What? Also known as the Great Sanitary Fair, so hopefully it was nice and clean, was one of the many United States Sanitary Commission's sanitary fairs held during the American Civil War. Yeah, because it was still going on at that point. So, man, that's something. So, good thing they were able to get that wrapped up a good number of, about 11 years before. In 1865, they were able to wrap up the Civil War before the centennial. 10 million visitors, though, is quite a few. It's crazy. 35 countries. Business is 14,420. Holy Toledo. Fairmount Park, like I said, in Pennsylvania. So it was awarded in 1870. So, and then it closed on, but opened on May 10th. 1876, closed on November 10th. So 6 months exactly. So on and so forth. So that's kind of cool. All of that took place. The president at the time was Ulysses S. Grant. Yep, the general of the Union Army, and he was in a lot of ways the first civil rights president. That's the conversation brought up. Further and further proof, even back in those days, Republicans cared more about the whole, slavery thing than Democrats did. And yet, all we hear about is how Republicans are racist and Democrats are for everybody. They're for everybody. They're the people party. And it's like, I tend to disagree. It feels like it's the quite opposite, to be fair. It really does. It feels like it's a bunch of crap when they talk about that. So, and of course, they always get mad and they want to jump on you and say, yeah, bleep you, nobody cares. And it's like, well, again, back at you. They love to curse at you. Definitely noticed that over the course of time. So that was a centennial. We could dig deeper into that next year. The Sesqui Centennial. What kind of word is that? I'll probably slap myself. I bet somebody, Sesqui Centennial. Sesqui Centennial International Exposition of 1926. It was a World's Fair in Philadelphia. Okay, Pennsylvania. So once again, its purpose was to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the signing of the United States Declaration of Independence and the 50th anniversary of the Centennial Exposition. Right. I bet there was a number of people that remembered it at the time and maybe went to both of them. Obviously, 50 years is a long time, but there might have been somebody that was 10 years old that came back as a 60-year-old, or 20-year-old and came back as a 70-year-old. It's possible. It's kind of interesting to think about that happening. 5-year-old came back as you get the idea. So it's possible. 50 years is a long time, but it's not like somebody's entire life necessarily. So it started, the planning started 10 years before. That's pretty crazy. In 1916, right around, during World War I still at the time. Interesting. After World War I, Philadelphia suffered because of losses in the war, the spread of Spanish influenza, and and the hardship of Prohibition. Yeah, that was all going on at the time. Pretty wild. A lot of that was going on around that time. So it's like it really dates the whole situation there. The 150th anniversary, Sesqui Centennial. I think I might have it correctly this time. And if not, I apologize. Organizers, I'm just messing around. Organizers constructed an 80-foot, 24-meter replica of the exposition symbol, the Liberty Bell, covered in 26,000 light bulbs. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. At the gateway to the festival. That's a lot. Sesqui Centennial Stadium, later known as Philadelphia Municipal Stadium, and after 1964, John F. Kennedy Stadium. Well, I'll be doggone. Haven't we heard of that before? That was around that long ago? Was it demolished? No, I just clicked on it here. And it was closed in 1989. Opened on April 15th, 1926. So the Philadelphia Eagles did play there. That's what I thought. But not that long. Only from 36 to about 41. Okay. So it's just kind of random stuff. The Army-Navy game was played there from 36 to 79. Wow. The Liberty Bowl, that's another college game. 59 to 63. Philadelphia Bell, WFL. So there was that's a kind of a cool logo, where it's like the Liberty Bell with the crack through it on the football helmet. No, what the heck though? Wow, capacity. 100,000, 102,000. It's pretty wild. But that's it though? That's kind of weird. So what happened to the place? It was demolished in 1992 in September. Bugger. That's too bad. What happened to it though from 74 to 89ish when it was closed? Weird. Did it just sit there? That's interesting. So man, let's imagine something going back that far to the 150th anniversary. Something going back that far, and it was still there up until the early 90s when it was unfortunately demolished. Interesting though, man. It's fascinating stuff. I know it might seem trivial to some people, but to me, frankly, it's kind of cool, I think. I kind of like that type of stuff. Sorry, it's so doggone hot. It's making me feel kind of woozy here, and I apologize. 200th, the bicentennial. The United States bicentennial was a series of celebrations and observations during the mid-1970s that paid tribute to historical events leading up to the creation of the United States as an independent republic. Thank you very much. Not as a democracy, an independent republic or constitutional republic. Thank you. Yes, that's what it was. That's what it was and is. And then we have the semi-Keycentennial starting next year. Semi-Keycentennial, 2026. And Donald Trump will be president, God willing, at the time. Well, not even knocking on wood. Not God willing, yep. So, thank you, Lord. There was the 200-year anniversary of the revolution. I've seen many a quarter out there as well, where you can see the bicentennial on it. There's a celebration of the bicentennial, 1776 to 1976 on that one. Was this also in Pennsylvania? Well, the president was Gerald Ford. It was organized by the American Revolution, Bicentennial Commission, 1966 to 1973. American Revolution Bicentennial Administration, 73 to 76 at the time. The location was the United States of America. How? Boy, that's really narrowing it down. The United States of America. Thanks. That's good to know. I'm glad it was in the United States of America. Very, well, it must have been all over the country. It wasn't just one place in that case. It's just kind of, that's probably what they mean, just generally speaking. July 6th, Queen Elizabeth presented the bicentennial bell on behalf of the British people. Interesting. The bell is a replica of the Liberty Bell cast at the same foundry, Whitechapel Bell Foundry, and bearing the inscription, "For the people of the United States of America, from the people of Britain, July 4th, 1776, let freedom ring." That's interesting to have that coming from the British, of all people, but I suppose 200 years, over the course of 200 years, that there's going to be some, reconciliation over the course of time, right? Especially when the fact that we fought together in multiple wars. The Great War, World War I, and of course World War II especially, working together there. Delaware Crossing reenactment, cool. November 20th and 21st in 1976, participants immersed themselves in the era by donning period-accurate uniforms. Oh, I love that. And equipping themselves with the tools and weaponry characteristic of that Christmas night over 2 centuries prior. Yeah, because it was on Christmas, you remember. Yeah, well, we should talk about that around Christmas time, especially next year. Yeah, in 2026 anyway. The reenactment unfolded as a grand spectacle featuring the flotilla of boats navigating the icy currents of the Delaware River. Since then, the crossing of the Delaware reenactment has occurred every year to relive and recognize this moment. Yep, because that was the turning point of the Revolutionary War. For anybody wondering the true significance of that, maybe you're younger or you don't really follow history all that great, for either lack of interest or just whatever. Maybe you're busy with so many other things and you don't think about it much. It was the turning point of the war. The revolution was, Revolutionary Army was well, they were underfunded. They didn't have much to work with, especially starting out. They were losing. It was kind of as if they were like the equivalent of the Confederates versus the Union. The Confederates they definitely were the underdogs in the Civil War. The Union Army was like the U.S. Army versus this other group of people that kind of formed their own thing. And think about going against the powerful British Empire, and we were just kind of forming our own thing. Think about that, and we won. Pretty amazing stuff. The turning point of the war was, of course, Washington thinking that, it's Christmas Day, and Trenton, New Jersey's occupied by the British. They took Trenton, New Jersey. That's how wars are. People take, they take cities or areas and such. That's kind of how wars are. But it was occupied, Trenton, New Jersey, and Washington made the decision to attack Trenton, New Jersey, to retake the city on Christmas Day, to kind of a preemptive attack to surprise the British when they're not expecting, because it's Christmas Day, for Pete's sake. And it was a huge turning point in the war. It changed a lot. It was a huge momentum changer. It would be like, in the sports world, when they say Paul the Igniter Molitor, back in the day, Paul Molitor, former Milwaukee Brewer, Minnesota Twin, and even Toronto Blue Jay for, 2 years? He got a World Series ring there. The Igniter. He'd get that hit that kind of starts a rally. And that's kind of what that was with George Washington invading Trenton, New Jersey. But they had to cross the frozen, or freezing at the time, the icy Delaware River to get there. That was part of it. Crossing that Delaware River at that time was crucial. It was also very dangerous, but it was a crucial part. And it is arguably the most memorable part of that whole operation that General George Washington, led the way. Led him on the ship. With that stoic look, saying, "Yes, forward we go," basically, or whatever the terminology may have been at the time. Tis time to attack. Tis the turning point of the war right here. Tis our only chance, indeed. And it was a momentum changer. And George Washington, obviously, the talk was, it's like he wasn't this genius when it came to strategizing battles and such, but he came through in the clutch, which is what's more important than anything else. Coming through in the clutch, the moment that is most needed. Be it sports, like the sports world. Who do you remember? Kirby Puckett hitting that Game 6 home run? Or, Kevin Garnett getting 20, 10, and 5, but never winning a championship in Minnesota, but 20, 10, and 5. You remember Kirby Puckett coming through in the clutch, right? Well, George Washington came through in the clutch, too, when it came to the Revolutionary War, which is a lot more important than Game 6 of the World Series, be it 1987 or 91. Puckett came through in the clutch big time in both of those, but Washington came through in the clutch. December the 25th into 26th, 1776, it was a huge turning point of the Revolutionary War, no doubt about it. So, we all want to honor and thank George Washington for that, be it Christmas Day or obviously here on July 4th. We declared independence from Britain. That was the beginning of it all. It was not the end, it was the beginning. For some reason, many years ago as a kid, I thought that was the end. We fought the war and before that. And now it's over. We're independent. We've won. No, that was the beginning. That's when he said, no, we are no longer going to, we're no longer going to follow your rules. We're no longer going to be a part of England. We are going to be the United States of America, basically. We're going to form our own country, our own nation, our own rules, our own constitution, so on and so forth, and our own Bill of Rights. And, we did. Bottom line, we did. Despite the fact that the British were everywhere, and they were ready to, quote-unquote, kick our butts at the time. The threat was very, very real. The threat was very prominent. It was very present. right there, as we declared independence, like, no, we're not answering to you anymore. This is our country now. I mean, that took guts. It truly did. And these people were young. A lot of them were under 30 years old at the time when they were signing the Declaration of Independence. Fascinating stuff. Whenever you hear about a lot of that, and just how close the British were when that was signed. Like, they were there. They were there. They were presente. They were present, like, on the streets there when that took place. It's just absolutely fascinating. They were there. They were occupying. They were, like, hey, we're here, we're in charge. And then we said, no, you're not. And that was the beginning of it all. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating indeed. It took so much guts, and they were young people, thankfully with enough energy and courage to risk their lives on that day, that fateful day, July 4th, 1776. And we thank them so much for what they did, and so many lives that were sacrificed in the United States Revolutionary Army. We thank them so much on this day, and we remember them every single day of our lives. We remember them especially on this day, though, July 4th, the 249th anniversary, as we draw closer and closer to, another complicated word. It is, it's a funky word, but sesquicentennial. Woo! I mean, where do they come up with these terms, man? How about the 250th anniversary? Does that sound better? Sesquicentennial, semi-sesquicentennial? Oh, my goodness. What about the sextillionth time I messed that word up? Okay, just kidding. That's a very large number. In fact, it's so big, I couldn't even write it down pretty much. It's that big. But, yeah, we want to thank all the people that had the guts, the guile, the cojones to stand up to the British Empire on that fateful day, 249 years ago. 249 years ago. With that said, 10 score and 49 years ago. Okay, I'm just kidding. That's not 10 score. That would be 12 score. 12 score and 9 years ago. They stood and got that, they stood up to the British Empire. That'd be 12 score, right? So, yes, 12 score. That's 240, right? Yeah, and then 9 years ago. With that said, thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Happy July 4th, and God bless the United States of America.